Welcome to Bunnyfish Crafts. I'm your host Heather, known as Bunnyfish on Ravelry, Instagram, and YouTube. Today is Tuesday, the 5th of May, 2015, and this is episode 127, A Little Blue. Grab some sticks and string and come sit with me. Before knitting content, this week I was scheduled 5 days like normal, but on Sunday, which was one of my 2 days off, I got called in for an 8-hour shift. So I'm working 6 days this week. So this week's content is a little bit late, but not bad. But next week's content, especially because I'm recording a day late this week, will probably be extra light. So if there was ever an episode where I would answer viewer questions, the next one would be it. So if you have any questions, throw them in this thread, this week's episode thread, and I will answer them next week because I feel like it's going to be a little knitting content light. Anyway, the all the small things craft along is going on. So knitting, crocheting, weaving, spinning, any finished object, anything that you finish will count and will have counted since the 1st of May, runs through July 31st, 2015, and a single hex puff, a single blanket square, a single sock, a single mitt, a Christmas ornament, a sweater, a blanket. So any little thing that you finish will count. And if you finish a bigger thing using those little things, that also counts. So if you were making a baby blanket with 12 patches and you finished each individual patch in the craft along time, then each of those would count. So that would be 12 entries. Plus, if you got it all seamed together and finished, that would be a 13th entry. And I am going to make a, I'm not going to make a finished objects thread. It's all going to be one thread, chatter everything, and I'm going to do slips of paper, which is crazy because that's going to be a lot of work for me, but I think it'll just be more fun if we can all talk about what people are working on and not have to worry about finished objects threads, etc. And there will be random drawings throughout the knit a long time, craft a long time, because I just think it'll be more fun that way. And all of the prizes will be small things: stitch markers, patterns of $4 or less, giftable through Ravelry, just small things, mini skeins. I don't have the thread up yet, but I will by the time this goes up. Oh, also last week, so I know it went up really, really late, but my editing software was not playing nicely. I tried saving it to my computer. Like, the editing process went fine, but when I went to save it to my computer, it took like 3 days to figure out what the error message it was telling me meant, because I would fix something and then I would try to save it and it would start saving, and then forever later it would be like, oh, you have this error. It's very frustrating. So that's why that was up so late last week. Sorry. Anyway, I have a finished object, and it was finished before I even posted last week's podcast because it took so long to post, and also I just couldn't stop working on these mitts. So these are the Norwegian Totoro mittens by Brella. I use Knit Picks Stroll Sport in Wave Heather, which is the lighter color, and Stream Heather, which is the darker color. Worked these on US size 4, 3.5 millimeter. The stitch marker is where I was on both mittens last week, so I finished all of this and did thumbs. I ran out of the Wave Heather color where you see it. I had probably an inch and a half tail on each mitten to weave in because I went as far as I could. I did pretty well though. I made it all the way through the main color work chart, because up in the umbrella portion of Totoro, in case you haven't seen My Neighbor Totoro, there's a scene where the main character and her younger sister are waiting for their dad at the bus stop, and she's under an umbrella, and Totoro, this forest spirit comes by and he has a leaf on his head to shield him from the rain, but it's not very effective, and the rain drips off of the tip of the leaf onto his nose. So she actually hands him their father's umbrella, and it's a really great scene. I love My Neighbor Totoro. It is probably my favorite movie. I would say it's my favorite movie ever. I could watch it over and over again. But sadly, I don't own it. Isn't that horrible? I asked for it for my birthday last year and it didn't happen. Maybe this year. Maybe. Anyway, so that's why he has an umbrella. And there is a little bit of color work in the umbrella, and there's this this color work bit on the sides goes all the way up the side of the umbrella, but I think it looks fine without. I think it looks intentional having the, I mean, it would be like, and the thumbs have color work too. I feel like it's when you do contrasting toes, heels, and cuffs, it's the same look on these mittens, and I love them. I had to make some adjustments. I told you before that my fingers are really, really long. Well, my hands in general are very long comparatively. So the thumbs were actually fine. I didn't have to extend the thumb length, I don't think. I think I did the thumbs per patterns based on number of rounds. But I did, in the umbrella section, I did 6 or 7 extra rounds before I started the umbrella decreases. So the umbrellas are a little bit taller on my mittens, but they fit lovely. I'm pretty proud of the floats because there are some longish floats, but at no point do my fingers feel, or my hands at all feel bound up. Everything's loose. There's no puckering. I love these mittens, and even though it's really hot, I really want to just keep them on all day. So these are my Totoro mittens, and I love them. I have all new works in progress because I didn't have anything else for works in progress last week except the sock, but I finished that and put the picture in. I think I put the picture in. I can't remember. The pictures were what was giving me trouble last week. I had to like take them out of the video and re-put them in, and it was a mess. Anyway, so works in progress. Do you know what this is? I asked Josh and he guessed it. So can you guess it? This is my swatch for the Delancey cardigan. So I did my swatch, I measured, and my stitch gauge is half a stitch over or under for over 4 inches, and then my row gauge is 2.5 rows in the other direction from gauge. So it's pretty close, and I'm going to work with it because it's knitted on the bias, so those gauges aren't, they don't affect things like they normally would. So I'm hoping the fact that one's over and one's under kind of even out in the bias. And if not, whatever, I'll find someone who can wear the sweater, but I'm sure it'll be fine. The yarn that I'm using is Knit Picks Full Circle, and the colorway that I'm using right now is denim. I don't remember what the other one is. It's in my bag. In my knitting, it's my bag monster bag. This is worsted weight. The pattern calls for DK. So I went up a needle size. Somehow I went up a needle size and a yarn size, but I'm still getting gauge. Don't know. Using US size 9, which I can't remember what that is. Is that a 6.5 maybe? I don't know. I don't know. It's US 9. And I am, there are panels, they're triangle panels on the sides that you join together. And instead of doing them one at a time, I'm doing them 2 at a time because I feel like I would hate having to count. And also it gives you instructions to do increases through so many rows, but you're supposed to do a stripe sequence in there at some point, and I don't want to count correctly on one and not count correctly on the other. So I just figured that this would be easier way to do it. So I have the yarn that I did my swatch out of, I pulled from the outside because there was a wonky bit on the outside, but then and I used that to start the first triangle, but the second triangle I'm pulling from the center of this ball. So yeah, it's everything that I have right now is just really tiny because I just started all of it. So that is the first project. My second is the mitts that I'm making for Allegria, and it's Maverick Yarns. Barely started, you can't really see what's going on, so let's get those stitch markers out of the way. It's really very lovely. This colorway is Last Summer. Blues and greens, variegated. I'm using US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needles for that. And another reason why I don't have a ton to show you this week is because I'm finishing up a secret project that I can't show you, which should be finished probably today, but maybe tomorrow, and then I'll be working on these projects. But that's where a lot of my work went to this past week. Sorry about that, guys. And as you can see, I'm working on a lot of blue because my secret project is also blue, hence the show name title, which was actually pointed out to me by Allison because I put up my photo of what I plan to work on this month. And she commented on how it looked like a blue month, and it totally is. But my last new project is not blue, it's black. And it's just the very beginning. Very, very tiny. This is the beginning of the Ad Hoc Mystery Shawl, which is a pattern by Josh Ricks, and it's very tiny so far. What the colors that I will be using for this are Premier Serenity Sock in black and Knit Pick Stroll Tonal in Canopy, and also Premier Serenity Sock yarn in gray that I over dyed with egg dye. But it's still on my Swift being wound into a ball because when I wound it out into the hank to dye it, I wound out a hank that was too long for my Swift, so I can't just use a ball winder on it because it gets a tangled mess. So I'm winding it into a ball by hand, which is part of the reason why this has not gotten more work than it has. So that will be more impressive next week when I actually start working on it. I'm using US size 4 3.5 millimeter needles for that. And I plan to cast on another project this week, at least, maybe 2. I have some colorwork mitts that I'm going to be doing for Steve of Dramatic Knits, Leading Men Fiber Arts, another shop sample for them. But I have to go and get needles for it because I don't have US size 0 and the cuff calls for 0. So everybody who's waiting for mail and everything, I'm going to do that tomorrow. I'm going to do all my errands tomorrow. Normally Tuesday is my errand day, but yesterday we went to the zoo with Steve's mom. She was about 45 minutes, an hour away, staying at her sister's house over the weekend. Actually, they did sister weekend, which, by the way, Amanda, this is a really cool idea, and we need to do this when we are older because then our children will be older and we can get away more easily. So what they do is they rent a cabin or go far away on vacation to a hotel or whatever. They go away somewhere, the 4 sisters, and they just hang out for a weekend with, no cleaning, no responsibilities. Well, I guess when they go to cabins, they clean and stuff and cook, but just on a different scale where they get to do what they want to do instead of having to deal with spouses and kids and all that. So Amanda, we need to do that because that sounds awesome. But anyway, when she finished sister weekend, she was staying at her sister's house, and her sister only lives about 45 minutes away. So they both came down to the zoo, and we were at the zoo. So, or they were like, we planned all this to go to the zoo. So we went to the zoo yesterday. So that's why I didn't record. So that's why I'm recording today instead of running my errands today. So mail's going out tomorrow is what I'm saying. And I will be picking up needles tomorrow so that you'll see the beautiful yarn, which I haven't shown you yet. I thought that I didn't have anything new, but I do now. I forgot to write it in my show notes. But it's not time for new things yet. It is time for the barn raising square, which I am knitting away as I am talking. I didn't quite finish, but I have, let's see, 1.5 rounds left in this color, which is Premier Yarns Serenity Sock in the Harlequin colorway. So 1.5 rounds in this, and then 1 round in the black, and then the bind off. And that is square number 21. Hexapuffs. I made 7. I know I made 7 because I magic looped 6, and I did this one special celebratory hexapuff on double points. But I only have 6 hexapuffs on my desk right now. Somewhere in my room probably, but maybe just in my house somewhere, there's an errant hexapuff. I'm not going to count it this week because it's missing. So when it shows up, I will count it then. So this week I have 6 hexapuffs, which brings me up to 282. As I said, celebratory hexapuff. I don't know what this yarn is because my friend Claire gave it to me at knitting, but it's not a fingering. It's heavy sport DK-ish weight. And then my magic looped ones. This is drops in the color 161. Made Cecilia's Christmas socks out of these. These are, I don't remember. This is a mini skein from somebody. This was yarn from Haley. This is yarn that I used to make my second magic ball shawl sample out of. So there's one color down here, and I ran out of that, so then I used the other color up here. They look different when they're not striping, but when they're striping together, it looks like it's just one colorway. And this yarn is a mini skein from Ginger, who's a free spirit on Ravelry. I got it at last year's ZK, and it is Opal Prisma self-striping. So new things. I have some. I received yarn and a pattern from Steve of Dramatic Knits so I could make a sample for him. These are the Galaxy Mittens by Kate Klemp. Let's see. Oh, mirroring. There you go. So that's kind of what they look like. I'm trying to give you the picture without glare. And the yarn that I will be making it out of is Leading Men Fiber Arts Showcase, which is 100% superwash merino in the colorways Royalty and Darkest Hour. And I also received a skein for sample knitting. So this is called Orchard Slope. I'm really excited to start the colorwork mittens as soon as I get those size zeros. I really wanted to start last week, but I just didn't have time to get to the yarn shop because I can't just go to Joann's and get size 0 needles that I'm actually going to enjoy working with. I have to go to the local yarn shop. And they have kind of strange hours, so I actually thought about going on Monday because it would be not so far out of the way to go on the way back from the zoo. But they're not open on Monday, so I couldn't get them on Monday. Very frustrating. Oh! I have an announcement. I hope you're still here. I hope you didn't leave yet. I will be very distracted by my daughter. And also, I will be at the Kentucky Sheep and Fiber Festival in Lexington or near Lexington, Kentucky. I can't remember if it's in Lexington or not. On Saturday, May 16th, and I will be there all day. Pretty much all day. I will be walking around a lot, and there will also be a spinning guild there, and my spinning lady, Lorraine, she said that she is definitely bringing a wheel for her to spin on, but she might bring a second wheel for me to spin on. That would be super exciting because I haven't spun on a wheel before. But either way, I will be hanging out with them a little bit and spinning. Maybe a lot of it. I don't know. We're going to be there for a long time because Lorraine and I are carpooling. So if you're there, come up, say hi. I don't have cool things to give out like buttons or anything, but I do give hugs, and I would love to meet anybody who's going to be there. That would be fantastic. Okay, so I'm reading The Pillow Book of Cordelia Ken, and I am rationing it, but I like it so much. It's difficult to ration sometimes. I really, really like the style of this. If you like really, really linear things, this is not the book for you. But if you kind of like books that like go back and forth a little bit between past and present, it's always very clear when she's talking about past or present. Past and present, and throw in random things every once in a while. This is the best book ever. And this book is basically how my brain works when I'm telling stories. I'm sure you've noticed that I'll be talking about something and I'll be like, oh, random other thing. Okay, back to the original thing. So this book is basically how my brain works, and I love it so, so much. And I want to read all of it all at once, but then it'll be over. And even though I'm rereading it, so I'm not 100% against rereading books, I don't like rereading books back to back, and I would want to, but then I wouldn't want to at the same time. Does that make sense? Who knows? It's a really short episode. Sorry about that. Just content light, I guess. I hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string. Really quick, I am wearing my Sarah by, I don't remember who. This is the Sarah sweater using 716 knit custom colorway. It's modified hamsters in the worsted base, and I love this sweater. And I wore it to the zoo, and Steve's aunt said that she loved it and she would like one. I don't know if she actually would like one and if she actually loved it, but if I see her again when I'm wearing it and she mentions that she would like one, I will tell her I will buy her the yarn. So you might be seeing the same cardigan made again in different yarn. We'll see. Hope you made something fantastic with your sticks and string. I will see you next week. Bye!